It's a big zchus of ours to have Sonnenschein come share words of Torah with us. Sonnenschein's the Menal at Landers College. Very apropos, I was told very apropos to have Rabbi Sonnenschein speak in Mevaseret because from what I'm told, Rabbi Sonnenschein's love for his Talmidim is only matched by the Talmidim's love for the Rebbe. So something, a model of a kesher between a Rebbe and Talmud, which is very familiar to us here at Mevaseret. So it's our zchus to hear from the Rebbe.
Thank you, Yashikayach. I really like that introduction. You know how this works, right? They send us around from yeshiva to yeshiva to speak, to get to know the guys, ultimately to try to get as many guys as possible to go to Landers. You know that, right? It's not a secret, right? But the truth is that for me, over the years, it wasn't enough to bring me here, and certainly not enough to get me to put my heart and soul into speaking. And I discovered, and I felt it here more than in other places, I have to say, that guys are ready to work to accomplish something. So when I come to speak, I try to say to myself, let's put all of those agendas aside and let's grow together. Let's take another step forward together. Hopefully for myself and for you, let's take a few minutes and try to move our serving Hashem to another place. Afterwards, if you have questions about the other agenda, we can talk about that afterwards. But for now, I want to focus on us here and now. And it's interesting, Parshas Vayishlach described the great showdown between Yaakov and Esav. It's been brewing for a few Parshiyos, Toldos, Vayetze, Vayishlach, and we've discovered, in Parshas Vayishlach, the big moment of the meeting of Yaakov and Esav, the fight with the Malach of Esav, and ultimately Yaakov and Esav parting ways afterwards. And this interaction between Yaakov and Esav was used over our history countless times to counsel the Chachamim of Klal Yisrael and how to interact with the world around us. The Chazal say that when the Tanoim would take a ship to Rome to interact with the government there, they would learn Parshas Vayishlach on the ship because it describes the different ways that we interact with the world around us. But I want to take that which took place outside of us and I want to focus it inside of us. Because while we may find ourselves through the generations in conflict with the nations of the world, b'chol dar v'dar oimdim aleinu l'chal oiseinu, but there's a conflict that takes place inside of us, one that I'm certain every single one of you is very, very familiar with. And that's the conflict of the part of us that yearns to be close to Hashem and the part of us that tries to prevent that closeness to Hashem. All of you are fellow warriors in that war. And we're all, each Ben Torah in a yeshiva, each Ben Torah in his workplace, each Ben Torah in his school, each Ben Torah in any area of life that he pursues, carries that milchama with him to try to bring himself closer and closer to Hashem and to try to hold off the parts of us, the Esav parts of us, if you will, that try to pull us away from Hashem. I have at home a book. It's Napoleon's Art of War. And it's the strategies that Napoleon used in battle. The reason I have that book, it comes with a commentary. The reason I have that book is because I once, many years ago, spoke to Talmidim about how war and the strategies of war can be turned inward and be strategies for us and how we interact with the different parts of ourselves. And the Talmud thought it was cute, and it was actually very meaningful, that he went out and bought me a book of war strategies. So what I want to do in the next few minutes is I want to take three areas, briefly, Three areas. Two of them that come up in Parshas Vayishlach. Strategies that Yaakov used when he was dealing with Esav, and then a thought of how we may be able to incorporate them here and now in our growth. And then a third, which is a little bit more sensitive, because I want to discuss how warfare changed in the modern age. Because warfare today is nothing like warfare was a few decades ago. And if warfare changed, I want to suggest that the inner war also changed. But let's start from the beginning. Yaakov finds out that Esav is heading towards him with 400 men. There was going to be a battle. At least that's what he thought. Yaakov, as we know, prepared himself in three ways. Doiroin, he sent a gift. Milchama, he prepared himself to fight. And Tefillah, he davened to Hashem. Now I'm sitting alone. I'm in my dorm. I'm in the Beis Medrash. I'm walking on the street. And I feel this sense of conflict inside of me, whether it's a decision I have to make, or a challenge that I'm facing, or a responsibility that I'm debating whether or not I should embrace. I'm worried. The Yetzer Hara has set his sights upon me. Esav is coming with 400 men. And I'm worried about this approach of the Yetzer Hara. So I too take the three parts of Yaakov Avinu's approach. On the one hand, I prepare myself a milchama. Am I strong enough to handle this? What do I need? Do I need to reach out to a friend? Do I need to consult with a Rebbe? Do I need to make sure that I'm learning very strongly? What do I need so that when the battle comes, I will win that battle? That's the milchama part. I prepare myself a milchama. But I also give gifts to the Yetzer Hara. What does that mean? What does it mean that I give gifts? I send gifts. Yaakov sends gifts to Esav. What does that mean? Well, the Ran says that when Yitzchak Avinu was about to give the brachos to who he thought was Esav, that he asked Esav to bring delicious food for him to eat. And the Ran says the reason that Yitzchak asked for delicious food to eat is because he wanted to give his body what it needs so that it will be calm and satiated, and he wouldn't feel conflict from the side of his body, so that he could focus his attention to his ruchnius. Our physical part of ourselves, even the emotional part of ourselves that likes to have a good time, that likes to enjoy life, we cannot starve it. Reb Volba in the Sefer Alei Shor, those of you that have seen, I'm sure that Alei Shor is on the bookcases upstairs. He has a perek called Piyus Haguf, giving in to the body. Chas v'shalom, it doesn't mean we allow the body to sin, but we do try to make the body as comfortable and calm as possible so that we can focus on our ruchnius. We try to sleep enough. We do. We try to sleep enough. We try to eat properly. We even try to have as much fun as we need to have. So we develop our talents. If I'm a musician, I make sure to play music. My son is learning in Yeshivat in Eretz Yisrael, and he's learning day and night. But we went away for Shabbos, and the room that we stayed in happened to have a piano. And my son is very good on the piano. And I was happy to see that we walked into this room. He sat down. He didn't unpack. He didn't do anything else. He sat down, and before I turned around, Baruch Levine's Chasayif Zeraya was playing on the piano. That's Dairon. That's a gift to the Yetzer Hara. Let's have some fun, good fun, wholesome fun. But let's go on a tiyul. Let's go running. Let's work out. Let's get something delicious to eat. Let's have a good dessert. Let's take enough care of ourselves that when we tell ourselves, let's learn a Tosfos, let's stand up to the Yetzer Hara trying to pull us into the wrong place. The Yetzer Hara doesn't say, we're so deprived. I'm not deprived. I have a healthy balance. I go to war against my Yetzer Hara, but I also send gifts to my Yetzer Hara. And after all of that, tefillah. I don't think I can do it myself. After I put in my efforts, then I tell myself, okay, I did mine, but without Hashem's help, I can't do anything, and I daven. So that is stage one. Yaakov Avinu's approach to Esav, my approach to my Yetzer Hara. That's stage one. Let's move on to stage two. Yaakov finally meets Esav, and Yaakov tells Esav, invites Yaakov. Esav invites Yaakov to go with him, to travel with him. Nis'a v'neilecha ve'elcha l'negdecha. We will travel and we will go and I will walk opposite you. Let's go together. Rabbi Isai, Esav has been saying that for many, many years, but never as directly as the last few decades, where for decades, Esav has stopped sending us to concentration camps. Esav has stopped trying to exterminate us. Instead, as we know, Esav, the Esav on the outside and the Esav on the inside, is trying to seduce us, is trying to reel us in, is trying to get us to compromise on our values, is trying to get us to adopt a value system that's different than the value system of the Torah. You know, we come from the Western world, and there are a lot of values. Let's say in the United States of America, there are a lot of values that we share. And it's one of the reasons that Jewish people feel comfortable in America, because there are things that we share. Respect for people, freedom. There are concepts that, okay, maybe not exactly the same way, but we share. But do we share this unbelievable obsession with money? Do we share that? Is that how we rate someone on how special they are, by how much they're worth? Is that something that we share? Certainly not. Certainly our value of a person in Yiddishkeit has much more to do with what he does with his money than with how much money he has. Would you agree with that? So there's a different value system. But don't we get pulled into it? Don't we get just pulled in just by osmosis? We get pulled in to a value system that's not ours. Nis'a v'neilecha, let's travel together. We speak the same language. We understand each other. And we start to meld in. We start to become formed by a value system that's not ours. That's the Yetzer Hara's attack on us. How does Yaakov respond? And here's a very important thing. Sometimes guys think that if I make huge, massive declarations and I pound my fist and I just express how unbelievably frum I am, that's a way to ward off the Yetzer Hara. And sometimes that's a big mistake. Sometimes the way to ward off the Yetzer Hara is by a much gentler approach. Yaakov responds to Esav, and Yaakov says, Adoni Yodeya, you know Esav, ki hayoladim rachim, that the children are young. And if I push them very hard, the animals will die. I can't push my people so hard. You go ahead, and eventually I'll meet up with you. But listen to how Yaakov is talking to the Yetzer Hara. When the Yetzer Hara attacks me and wants me to do something wrong, which living, breathing Ben Yeshiva has not felt that attack? When the Yetzer Hara attacks and it's pulling me to violate my values, to violate what the Torah tells me to do, if I'm like, I will never listen to you, you may find yourself falling quickly. But if you tell your Yetzer Hara, not today. I hear what you're saying. It's a very good idea. Interesting. I think maybe I would enjoy. No, not today. I'm busy today. I have Seder. I have friends. I have things to do. I have a trip planned. Not today. Ask me again tomorrow. And then tomorrow when the Yetzer Hara attacks, you're like, it's not a good time. Not tomorrow. And slowly but surely, sometimes the subtle pushing off of the attack of the Yetzer Hara can be more effective than grand statements. Sometimes the simple, it's 8:32 p.m. on a Sunday night. I'm traveling, so I think it's Sunday night. I think it's Sunday night. And Yetzer Hara, not tonight. We'll discuss it again tomorrow. Sometimes that subtle pushing off of the Yetzer Hara, I'm going to make today a good day. Today's going to be a good day. I'll see what happens tomorrow. Sometimes that is a very, very effective approach. And you see how Yaakov uses it so effectively to send Esav on his way. That's the second interaction. There are many others. If you look yourself through Parshas Vayishlach, you may find many other areas where like, I can use that. That's a good idea. Many other tricks, many other tactics of war. But I want to point out something. For centuries, battles were won and lost on battlefields, and the way to fight was always at the front. That was where the fighting was. So two armies would face each other, and the people on the front were the ones in conflict. Maybe they would shoot arrows. That was the extent of it. They could shoot arrows, could go some distance. But there was a war that was taking place, and there was a front, the battle, where the two armies met, and that's where the war was. And it was like that for centuries, and the Chachamim told us that when we fight with the Yetzer Hara, it's the same way. And we've seen in the Sfarim that they talk about this. All of us are in a different place in our Avodas Hashem. The place of battle changes. When you come to Eretz Yisrael, let's say, and you take upon yourself to learn stronger than you did in America, you moved the battle. The good guys won. You moved the battle over. Now, I'm sure all of you, even sitting here in Eretz Yisrael, have other plans of ways of strengthening yourself. You're planning on continuing to move the battle. Maybe sometimes you have a setback. The battle moves back a little bit. But that's not modern warfare. A few months ago, I ran twice, actually, in the last while. We should be zeicha to only peace in Eretz Yisrael and Yeshua is in Eretz Yisrael. But a few months ago, Iran sent missiles to Eretz Yisrael. They weren't here. The front wasn't here. The front was miles and miles away. And yet, with missiles, there was an ability to cross over other countries and to send missiles far, far, far away from where the front is. That's a change in the way wars are fought. Drones. Drone warfare is an entire world of warfare. The Ukrainians bombed an oil tank, 2 oil tankers of the Russians, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, with drones. Drone boats, actually, that were driving, being piloted by people hundreds of miles away, probably, that were able to go into enemy territory with a drone and drop a bomb or hit something or explode. Suicide drones. Why am I sitting here and talking about drones and missiles? Certainly not my expertise. Because I care about it, because for centuries, Chachamim have told us that our interaction with the Yetzer Hara is like war. Wouldn't you think that if war changed, it might be a bit of an indication that the way that we fight, the way the Yetzer Hara fights with us may have changed, and the way we can fight back may have changed? So let's talk about both sides. Let's talk about how the Yetzer Hara, how it changed the way the Yetzer Hara fights with us, and let's talk about how it changed the way we can fight back. It used to be that to have certain levels of exposure to the Yetzer Hara, to have certain levels of falling in Yiddishkeit, you needed to travel very far from the lifestyle that you live in your home, in your yeshiva. You need to travel very, very far. But now the Yetzer Hara can easily drop a drone on us. He's able to penetrate. I was sitting the first morning I got to Eretz Yisrael. I went to a shul, and a guy, I was middle of davening my first shachris in Eretz Yisrael. Very special tefillah. My first shachris in Eretz Yisrael. for this trip. And on the table in front of me, some guy came in, and during Chazaras Hashatz, he was going through the news on his phone. And I was struck by it. I have no judgment for this person. I have no issue with this person. I understand the challenge. My phone burns a hole in my pocket as well. I understand the challenge. But it struck me. He was sitting, when I was davening, I noticed that I was looking at Bibi Netanyahu's face. Okay? On his phone. He was obviously reading some news article about something going on, and there's enough about Bibi Netanyahu to fill his phone for the whole Shachris. So, I realized, here we are in a holy land, in a holy city, in a holy building, in the middle of a holy prayer. And boom, a drone was dropped on this building. And this person, and I feel bad for him, this person got distracted from the holy prayer, and the holy building, and the holy city, and the holy country, and suddenly he was in another world. Is that not a drone dropped? Used to be, you sat in a shul, you were protected. Are we protected? And this, you can use your imagination in how many ways this is the case. That the ability of the Yetzer Hara to attack us has become much more sophisticated. He has smart missiles that could target us exactly, and it targets us exactly where we're vulnerable, and exactly where we're the most sensitive, and the things that are so damaging, and he's able to go straight in. So certainly the tactics of the Yetzer Hara changed. Things have changed. Things are not the way it used to be. When our parents went to yeshiva, they were protected in yeshiva. They were protected in their homes. You always had to be careful about the outside world, but we're not. You know this. I'm saying us, people that are trying to grow in Avodas Hashem in 2025, soon to be 2026, we don't have that kind of protection. We worry about our protection when we're in a base medrash. It's unbelievable. So warfare has changed. But I want to suggest that it's not just the Yetzer Hara that could drop missiles. We can drop a few missiles of our own. Because I've noticed also a change over the last few decades. I noticed that it used to be that when people sat in yeshiva, growth was very sequential, was very step by step. We sit down to learn Gemara, and some people are more inspired than others, and those that are struggling more have a harder time being inspired, and you didn't have the variations of ways of being inspired that you have today. I was here last year for a mishmar, and we sang, some of you might remember, we sang together. If that's not us dropping a drone on the Yetzer Hara, I don't know what is. That we could sit, all of us, with our own struggles, and we could sit with our own issues, and so on and so forth, but somehow we've learned how to harness the power of song. If that's not a drone on the Yetzer Hara, I don't know what is. If that's not a missile drop, that maybe in my learning, maybe in my davening, I still have work to do. And I need to do that work. There's no way out. I have to do that work, and when I do that work, I'll be so happy, so proud, and it will be so meaningful. But to help me get there, I can use a Geschmacke Kumsitz. The world has become opened up over the past few years. Who doesn't know this? The world has become opened up to Hasidus. I mean, think about it. Do you know that among my friends, we look at each other in astonishment? It used to be, when we were younger, this may sound crazy, but Hasidim learned Hasidus. That's what used to be. But I am sure that I'm mentioning Hasidus, I am sure there are guys here thinking, yeah, Hasidus, I love Hasidus. How do you even know it? How is it even part of your life? I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Chabura, this yeshiva in Hasidus, if there's people teaching Hasidus. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because we've discovered that we have missiles to drop. Because it inspires people in ways that we have access to, that Hashem has opened us up to. It wasn't like this 30 years ago. It wasn't like this 50 years ago for sure. My father learned in the Lakewood Yeshiva, Philly and Lakewood. He never heard a word of Hasidus until he was like in his 50s or 60s. Not a word of Hasidus. There was no such a thing in a yeshiva to learn Hasidus. It doesn't work. The fact that we as a community have opened ourselves up to new ways of being inspired, and we can make those jumps, And I'm sure your Rabbeim would tell me that they've seen guys do it, that they can hold on to something and get excited. I remember the first time that on Landers has a chat that they send out to all the guys when things are happening, when a Rebbe is coming for Shabbos, or if there's a drasha, or a kumzitz, or a malava malka. So sometimes the guys that are posting on the chat, like the student government or the gabayim or whoever is posting, will post, I don't know what they have over here, but get excited. And I remember the first time I saw it, like, get excited? Why don't you leave that up to me, whether I'm going to get excited? Just tell me what's happening. I'll decide if I should get excited. But it's not like that today. Today, we could grab onto things. We could show incredible movement. And in yeshivas, and this yeshiva is an example of that, guys move at lightning speed sometimes. And if that's not dropping missiles, I don't know what is. If that's not a missile that could go a few hundred miles, I don't know what is. We have to do the work. We have to improve our Gemara skills. We have to improve our Rishonim skills. We have to improve our halacha skills. But we today, your Rabbeim today, have missiles in their arsenal that they could help bring excitement and joy until you get there. And that's an unbelievable power that we have today that I don't believe existed in this way 50 years ago. So here we have the 3 stages. We have stage number 1 of the way of going to war, but gifts with davening. We have stage number 2, how the Yetzer Hara tries to reel us in, bring us slowly, seduce us, and our way of telling the Yetzer Hara, okay, not today. Not today. I'm going to push you off a little bit. Today I have some growing to do. I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. And then we have the final thing, that the Yetzer Hara has become powerful in a new way in our generation. But so have we. We're also powerful in a new way. And we don't have to walk around feeling defensive and like we have to hide under the tables. We have a tremendous kayach that maybe they didn't have previously either. We're powerful, and we're powerful as a community. We're powerful as B'nai Torah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give all of you the kayach to be able to meet the Yetzer Hara on the battlefield, and to be able to use all of the talents, the unbelievable talents that Hashem has given you, to be able to grow in a way that's healthy, that you could, Amirtz Hashem, build homes that are bursting with joy and Avodas Hashem. I want to just introduce, before I end, I have the tremendous chus that I came today with the Dean of Lander College for Men, with Dr. Abramson, with Dean Abramson. And it's a tremendous, tremendous chus to be traveling with such a special person who devotes himself to the Talmidim of the yeshiva in an unusual way. And I want to invite anyone, if you have any questions or anything that you want to comment either to me or to the Dean, you're definitely welcome to come over. And as always, it was such a special chus to be able to grow together with all of you. And I look forward to next time. Amir Tzashem. Yashikayach.